is the stage name of indie rock / indie pop artist Sophie Ellison, and Clean is her debut studio album. It was released at the beginning of March, and I've heard singles such as Cool, and I also heard the track Your Dog and Last Girl, and I really enjoyed this, and I listened to a bit of it before this review back in like the middle of March, and we were going to get to it at some point, but now it's like middle of May, and we finally are now getting to it.
We've got so many like surprise albums and like things that were coming out, and it just got like overcrowded on our schedule.
But now we're actually finally getting to it, and this new Soccer Mommy, her debut studio album, is a very honest and well spoken for album, but in the end I think it's too much of one thing, and it kind of bogs it down. I think she goes for too much of one style, one topic. I think the ideas she presents on this topic are very honest and well spoken for, and they're really intriguing, and she's just a great songwriter, but and there's some catchy ass hooks such as Cool, Your Dog, Last Girl's great. I think there's great songwriting here, but I think just her performance and the production are too much of the same. And not that any of them are bad, but I think too much of a good thing is not that good.
It was described earlier by Vincent that this album is more of a more boring Anna Birch, and I think I would have to agree. Not boring in the songwriting sense, because I think that her writing is phenomenal, and I think it's really creative and touching upon some subjects that like just aren't touched upon very often in songwriting. But the stylistic choice reminds me a lot of
90s pop rock music, right? That's
yeah. But I was gonna say Mount Eerie reminds me a lot of Mount Eerie's last couple of projects. Not in the sense that anybody died or anything, but in the sense that like it's a lot of rambling and playing a guitar.
It's not as
rambly, but the entirety of Mount Eerie's last couple albums were all one style.
Yeah.
You know, one track flowed into the next, flowed into the next, until it was literally just 50 minutes of you sitting.
One emotion. I think that's a better way to put it.
One emotion and 50 minutes of you know, sitting at a bar on the lakeside listening to a guy cover Pearl Jam on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Because I think, honestly, after Flaw, you've essentially heard the same, like, emotion throughout.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets, like, kind of just talks you down. But, I think, making the comparison, Anna Birch, who released a great record earlier this year, Quit the Curse, which also had great and honest songwriting.
Very creative.
And also, while Soccer Mommy's more inspired, takes more inspiration from like 90s pop rock music. Anna Birch was more 60s pop music, which I thought was really interesting. So there's ties to be made between the two artists, which I think is cool. But I think the difference, what separates the two, is Anna Birch had different sounds and different like progression throughout the album. There's more poppier tracks and there's more slow down tracks. It like flows way better than this. This is just, it kind of slows down to a T. Clean just like stops. It feels like it's. I felt like I was
just like stopped in time with some of these songs, like so slow and so easygoing. It's like when you're sitting on a summer day on your porch and it's 98 degrees out, like the boy band, and you're just like laying there and time stops and it's awful.
But here's the thing, I think if any of these tracks were isolated in a vacuum, I think they're fine. There's no track I hate on this. I just hate the fact that they're put in this layout.
I just think it drags sometimes.
I think as individual singles, this would be fine, but as a cohesive album, I think the experience is just very
it's hindered in a little sense.
Honestly, I think Soccer Mommy delivers, again, great songwriting. Covering this whole entire album deals with the topic of emotion and love, and I think since it focuses on love so much, it's just like, okay, we get it, bad relationships, and she does have like solid emotion and like authentic emotion and authentic problems that go into these tracks, but I don't think there is enough to cover this topic this thoroughly, at least having the entire album be about love, be about relationships. I think there need to be more subjects outside that one topic, and not only have more soft topics out of that subject, but there need to be different production and different vocal performances. I think as vocalist, Soccer Mommy actually delivers pretty well. I think she's actually a solid vocalist, and I don't think anything else. There's not anything else really to it. I think it just needed to be a little bit spaced out. Songwriting across the board is great, and again, reminds me a lot of Anna Birch.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting some of the topics that she covers on here, because I find them immensely relatable, like in my own relationship. Not that my relationship is bad, but songs like Last Girl, where like my girlfriend says like, you know, oh, your last girlfriend was, you know, she dressed nice and she was cute, and like I want to be that way.
Yeah.
When like I obviously think so, but like it's hard for her to see that. Or like Blossom, or Wasting All My Time. I thought that was interesting because it's not really something that's like touched upon. Like, how can I make this relationship grow, or how can I make this person grow? I see potential in them, but I don't want to waste my time trying to, you know, cultivate a relationship if it's just going to be a huge waste.
I think one line I like in particular, and I think I may be paraphrasing or saying it wrong, but I think it's you met me in the water and you removed my flower or something like that, obviously talking about losing her virginity and stuff. But I think that was just a very clever, even though I probably killed the line because I forget how it actually goes. I think it's actually a very clever use.
I think it was
talking about
we were picking flowers out in the garden.
The water. I also like the track Your Dog, kind of talking about being an emotional or abusive relationship.
Don't want to be on a leash.
Yeah, you know, I'm not your fucking dog.
Or your cat.
And Cool, and kind of looking in the track Cool, which is kind of similar to Last Girl, kind of looking up to this other person, wanting to be more like them, wanting to have more characteristics, wanting to be closer to that person even. There's a lot of, like, not self-hatred, but yeah, self-hatred.
Self-depreciation, I think.
That's a better way to put it on this album. It's honest. It's brutally honest about a lot of these subjects of love and romance and self-image, but I think it just covers too much of the same subjects, and it has too many songs that are on the same style or in the same note. Her performance is the same throughout, but it actually togs it down. It's consistent, but it's almost too consistent. This thing is only 30 minutes, around 35 minutes, I think. It's easier to digest because it's so slow and so moody. I think it actually kind of is hard to get through, especially the last couple of tracks. Not that any of these tracks are bad. I think isolated in the vacuum they're fine, but they're just... I think there needs to be changes stylistically so this actually works as an album, because again, all these tracks work, but they, as a cohesive experience, they don't.
You have to think about like layout. I think that the layout of the narrative makes sense, but the just the stylistic choice of the tracks bog it down, because like you might be telling a good narrative, but if the narrative is too slow, or if the style in which it's being told is too slow, then it's going to hinder from the narrative no matter how good it is.
And I do like this album a decent amount, and I think there's the improvements that I think need to be made aren't that hard to fix, and I think her next project, whatever it is going to be huge, especially because I think she's going on tour with like Paramore and Positive People and a bunch of other stuff, and she's getting a lot of mainstream publicity for this, which is great, because I think she deserves it. There's a lot of raw emotion in this project and a lot of brutal honesty, which I think works. I'm feeling a 7.5 on this. I think they're as a whole, I don't like listening to this as an album, but just listening to tracks like Cool, Your Dog, Skin, Last Girl, I don't think I really have a least favorite track on this. There's not one track I despise. I think, in all honesty, probably if I had to pick one, Still Clean, that'd probably be my least favorite, but I think it's just the most unnoteworthy of all the tracks, so that's probably why I have to pick it. But
I'm gonna give it a 7, I think. Excuse me. I mean, it was, like you said, like it was a decent listen, but dang, this thing just dragged. It's only 39 minutes, and it felt like it was like 2 hours. You know, I thought that a lot of the subjects covered on here, though, are interesting enough. I especially like the last, like, 3 tracks, Scorpio rising into, like, this little break, and then Wildflower, I think, just gave, like, a very bittersweet ending to the project. Wildflowers aren't meant to grow in the city. I just thought that was... It was beautifully like well crafted. The rest of the album, like I said, is well crafted, but dang, that layout just kills it sometimes. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a 7.